Timothy Liljegren and Pierre Engvall, the news is out today that they're both injured, won't be ready for the beginning of camp. Sounds like Engvall could be ready for the start of the year, but it doesn't sound so rosy for Liljegren. Like, he could end up missing some time. We don't have details on exactly what's ailing him. But those are two jobs. Those are two guys that are in the lineup as of now for opening night. And if they're not available, then there's two jobs up for grabs.
I think this is a tremendous opportunity for the Leafs to figure out who they want to keep. And what I mean by that is, does that give Zach Aston-Reese a shot at Liljegren's spot? I'm sorry, not Liljegren.
That Engvall spot, yeah.
Engvall's spot.
He's got to be thinking, I don't ever want to see Pierre Engvall around here again.
Right, like that. For me,
I want to take his job because I'm fighting for my life.
For me, both of those players would be ones that would be not Engvall as much, but maybe interchangeable if you're looking for upgrades. So there's your situation. Is Jordy Ben? Is Victor Mete? If Sandin
really. That's the story. Is Sandin
nowhere to be found, right?
No, and I don't expect it to happen between now and tomorrow. I mean, my impression is it's up to him to accept the deal that's on the table.
Can you explain to me what is on the table for him or what he's seeking? I've kind of been just following that on holidays from a distance, but is he asking what are we talking about here? Refresh me, Hazy Mania.
I think he wants more than what Timothy Liljegren got, which Liljegren got 2 years at 1.4. So I think he's looking at 2 years at whatever I don't know, $2 million a year, $2.25. I don't know exactly what he's asking for, but clearly the Leafs aren't willing to give it. And the Leafs shouldn't give it. I like Sandin a lot, but he's still a prospect until he proves otherwise. He's not an everyday NHLer because he hasn't played 82 games in a season.
Well, the other kid didn't either, Brian.
Liljegren, no. I agree. But guess what? Liljegren took the deal that was on the table. Sandin's not. They've put, I would guess they put a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, a 3-year, and it's like you make up your mind what you want. And he's not willing to accept that. Fine. He's entitled to that. They're negotiating. He wants more. But I don't think Liljegren's injury is going to change. The Leafs can't look desperate now and call him up and say, we'll give you whatever you want because Liljegren's not available. You have to stand strong. You can't change your mind on that if you're the Leafs. But I think it's more important for the player. I think Sandin should look at this and say, I got to get in there. Sign a 1-year deal then. Sign whatever it's going to be. Get into camp and take that job and don't ever give it back. Because if Hall's sticking around, Giordano's here, do the math. There's only so many opportunities here. Get in and take it. And if you get in and take it, guess what? If you play well, they'll pay you.
He wouldn't like hearing that. Maybe the agent wouldn't like hearing that. And he would probably say after listening to this little blurb, well, nobody else did that or blah, 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 or that. Because as a player, you get selfish and you start thinking about other players' money and Liljegren this and whatever, but it's best for the kid to just get his ass in camp and play hockey.
Well,
yes.
And he probably does not want to hear that because he probably thinks he has an inflated version of himself, and I deserve this, and everybody thinks they deserve everything. And to hear, get your ass in camp and play hockey and try to get better and try to really show the Leafs what you're made of, he probably doesn't want to hear that, but that's exactly what needs to happen.
Well, he does need to hear it from somebody in his corner to go, you know what, you're not looking – you got to look at the big picture. Is he looking for a win in this scenario? And what would be a win for him? Extra $200,000?
Well, if he thinks that he's scaring anybody, that he's some kind of ultimate threat not being around, it's just not the case.
Well, guess what? If he was an ultimate threat, somebody would have offer sheeted him this summer. Said, you know what, I got to have that guy in my top 4 and my top 2. Here's an offer sheet.
Or traded for him. Offered a deal that the Leafs couldn't refuse.
At the end of the day, he has no rights. He's an RFA. You got to sign the deal. Sounds like the Leafs have dug in and said, here's a deal for you. Come and sign. You can play on a good team. Might have an opportunity to pair with Mark Giordano right now. Go and play with a 38-year-old veteran who's going to help you be better because Gio's such a great pro and such a great human being. And what worries me for Sandin is Victor Mete puts up his hand and goes, you know what, I'm going to have a great camp. I'm a good skater. Maybe I could settle into a role. Jordy Ben goes, hey, you know what, I know how to play in this league. And all of a sudden, there's no spot. The Leafs aren't in a rush to bring him back. I don't think Kyle's panicking going,
no,
Liljegren's out, I got to have him in there. They have depth at that position because they went and spent one-way contracts. I believe both of those guys that I mentioned are on one-ways, right? Mete and Ben, they're like $750 one way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're talking
both of them.
third pairing options here because the
Exactly.
top four is more or less locked in. So
I think
Exactly.
some of the younger players have it like ingrained in themselves, where it's like play your 2 years and get it handed to you because it's. You look at some of the deals, you're talking about 2 years where you're like, not really that great, and kids are getting $60 million put in their jeans.
that's the way the NHL works now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. And when it's your turn and if nothing's getting thrown in your jeans, you get a little pissy
Well,
about it. And
but
I'm sure that's what's going on right now.
But you're right. 2 years. Sandin's played 88 games. Like, it takes a while. He's a 22-year-old, like you said, Hayes, prospect. He's a good young player. I think there's a lot of upside there.
Our boy Randy Carlisle says you got to play 300 in the
300.
National League before you know what you're all about.
Exactly.
That's
And-
years away still.
And he has an opportunity to play on a good team and settle in and push his way up the lineup with some consistency. I feel bad. I know this is a business, and if I was in his shoes, I'm sure he's digging in, all of that type of stuff. But at some point, you have to look at the big picture and go, the minute you start missing days in camp, you're always chasing it. Like, I think that's a struggle. I
do
hope
too.
they get it sorted out for his
Yeah,
sake.
I think it's in the best interest of both parties, clearly. But I think the Leafs realize, this is one where they have all of the leverage.
Sure.
And they have to take advantage of it because of where they are with the cap.
Yeah.
And, listen, they're a good team. They're going to be a good team. I think they're confident in terms of where they are now because it's September, right? Like, it's a different story down the road and towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. But this is where the Leafs should feel confident because of the way they've operated for 6 years. They know they win. They know they put up points. They've got high expectations in terms of the regular season. Look at certain sports books. They're favored to win the division, maybe win the President's Trophy. All these things are in front of them. And I think with Sandin, Liljegren's injury, Engvall's injury, nothing's going to change that.